Hey, Chris Lipe here, helping you sing better, helping you make better music. And in this video, we're talking about how to properly rest your voice. We've all had situations where we sang really long and late the night before, or we're coming down with an illness, or we've talked a ton and our voice is just not feeling right. We are maybe afraid we've damaged our voice. And so subconsciously, we do all sorts of things with our voice that we think might be helping it recover, but in some cases, we're actually doing the opposite. So I want to talk about vocal rest, and I'm speaking primarily from experience here. Vocal rest is not what most people think it is. It doesn't look like or sound like what most people think it should. So I'm going to share with you some do's and don'ts for vocal rest. Here's the first don't. Don't stop talking altogether. Why? Because you won't stop talking altogether. You won't stop using your voice altogether. There's going to come a point in the day where you need to say something, you need to react to something, and when you have been, after already tiring and straining your vocal cords the day before or whatever, when you're trying to be quiet and then you immediately speak up, you are shocking your vocal cords back into use after having not used them for a couple hours. That is not cool because that will instantaneously introduce this tension that wasn't there, and probably you will be introducing a new level of swelling. It's kind of the same principle as, you twist an ankle and they say, well, you should be walking on it a little bit. If you walk on it, it'll feel a little bit better. Why do they say that? Because if you stop using your ankle altogether, if you just decide, now of course you break your ankle or something like that and you can't walk, that's a different story. But if you just completely lay off of it and then without any sort of re-break-in period, you act like it's not hurt, then you're not doing yourself any favors on that ankle. You need to baby it. Now you say, well, couldn't I just talk quietly instead of not talking at all and then just talking well? Yes, you can, but there's more to be said about talking quietly. Now, I've mentioned this on another video, my 3 singing blunders video. The next don't is we don't want to talk quietly and talk like this, or whisper, or, I'm resting my voice today, so I'm not going to say a whole lot, and when I am going to say a whole lot, I'm going to do this. No, that is not what we want to do. It is especially important when we're resting our voice to use range-filled dynamic speaking when we do talk. This doesn't mean that we should shout and not talk quietly. We should talk more quietly and restfully and peacefully when we're resting our voice. Absolutely. But we want to make sure that we're still using the full extent and maybe even a greater extent of our vocal range, our speech range. Just like I'm doing there. You don't have to be ridiculous with it. But we don't want to be doing this. No, not this, or not this. Why? Because when we speak in a monotone, or close to fry all the time, or whisper, we are focusing our vocal energy on just one position and one part of our chords. So that's actually going to cause, if you have swelling, if you have other issues down there because of overuse, it's like taking one small muscle movement and doing it over and over and over again, like typing. People get repetitive stress injuries from typing. They're doing these small muscle movements over and over again. And that is similar to what we're doing when we try to rest our voice by going monotone. We want to make sure when we're resting that when we do speak, we're not, projecting a ton, but when we do speak, we are practicing range-filled dynamic speaking. So there's 2 don'ts. We don't want to stop talking altogether. And when we do talk, we don't want to be monotone or whispering. Our first do is we want to practice range-filled dynamic speaking all the time, but especially when we're trying to let our voice recover. Here's another big do, and it's probably obvious, but drink lots of water. Don't drink lots of coffee or lots of tea or lots of other colored liquids. When you're in vocal recovery especially, just drink water. It's the best thing for your voice. It's the best thing for your body. Coffee and tea often have caffeine. Well, they almost always have caffeine in them. Now, what about like special teas with honey and sprays and stuff like that? I never use that stuff in vocal recovery. Sometimes that stuff can taste good or feel good, but I would recommend against using particularly sprays because they tend to give me a false sense of betterness or security. If I am, spray myself up and, have a honey stick and then drink some tea, in my mind, I've kind of said, oh, I've done this, so now I can use my voice more inappropriately than I should. It's a mind thing. It's best to just do the water, listen to your voice, listen to how your voice feels. Don't spray yourself up or down the honey and down the tea because you think it's going to help your voice. It's really not. I know there's a lot of products out there that say that, the throat coat stuff or, I've known a lot of singers who they load up on that spray right before they go out to sing, and they're doing more damage than they are good because they are giving themselves a false sense of security and they're not truly listening to their voice. If your voice isn't feeling right, a spray's not going to help. It's that you might be using improper technique or you might have strained it and you need to rest it a little bit. Listen to your voice. And these medications and weirdnesses and drinks and all those things, they tend to give you a false sense and not force you to look at the real issues. It doesn't mean you have to give up coffee or tea. It just means drink more water and don't expect any magic solution for repairing your voice except for proper rest. Here's another do, and it involves a straw. Sitting quietly in contemplation, clearing your mind, and simply breathing through the straw. Use as much or as little pressure as you want to from your lower diaphragm. Make sure that you're using your proper support muscles when you're doing it. This makes a great warm-up too. But it's really good to do on a daily basis while you're going through a period of vocal rest because it recenters your perspective on your muscles that you're supposed to be using for proper speech and proper singing without engaging your vocal cords at all. So I will, when I'm in vocal rest, I make sure and grab a straw. I do this some in the morning, some in the afternoon. And I use my voice a lot for work and for singing and for recreation. But this really helps me recenter and refocus on where my support is supposed to come from. And by the way, if you haven't discovered how to use proper support, or you want more help developing your voice, be sure to join my free vocal course linked below. And I walk you through a lot of that. Support dialing in, expanding your range, taking things that we do in everyday speech and helping us look at those in a different way to improve our voice. But let's go back to the straw because there's two things we can do during vocal rest that are very beneficial. The first is just normal breathing, practicing engaging your lower diaphragm. Now, you're going to reach a point where you want to breathe in without the straw and then breathe out with the straw. Because you won't be able to take in your air fast enough. And you want to make sure, again, that you're not doing this. We want to maintain composure here so that we're using our energy correctly. So, engage in straw breathing when you're in vocal recovery. And then once you've done some breathing, do mini sirens through the straw. So you are engaging your vocal cords, but you're doing it very softly. And you're doing it in such a way And the reason you're doing this through a straw instead of just going, which is also good, that's a great drill. But we're using our straw, number one, because we already have it out because we are doing our breathing with it, but because we're able to feel the resonance in the straw in a certain way. We're focusing our mind's attention on our lips and that vibrating straw. So when we're focusing our attention there, we have to ask ourselves, where are we not focusing our attention? We're not focusing our attention on our voice that's too tired, our voice that we feel like we've hurt. And we are, by limiting the airflow that we can push out through the straw, we're forcing ourselves to not push too hard. And we're keeping potential tensions under wraps. So this is a way to sort of cap our volume in a way by using the straw to do our sirens. And the last thing I want to discuss is talking frequency. I already said you don't want to stop talking altogether because you can't. And then you'll inevitably blow it, and then you'll start this cycle of paranoia that you damaged your voice because you said 3 words to your kid. You don't want to do that. But you do want to limit what you say. So give yourself a small vocal allowance, allowing yourself to respond to things in environments that are quiet. You're not talking over people in a large meeting or at a restaurant. You're allowing yourself environments that you can talk in that are quiet and focused. One-on-one conversation is great. But just watch yourself when you're talking in groups or talking in loud areas. We want to do this anyway, but especially when you're on vocal rest. When I need to communicate and I'm on vocal rest and I happen to be in a loud situation, I actually take my phone and I use a text-to-speech app. Or I'll just take out my phone and text the person if I'm in a loud restaurant or whatever. So it's about discerning. It's not about not using your voice at all. It's about using common sense and discerning, okay, I'm stepping into this environment. Am I going to be wanting to talk above the threshold that I believe is comfortable for my voice given that I'm in vocal rest? If not, don't force it. I hope this video has been beneficial. I did it because I've gotten several requests about this very topic. So be sure to ask questions and suggest more ideas for videos, and we'll see you for more.